Alright. Tonight we gonna read Joshua 10. And yeah. So we left off at the end of chapter 9 after we had talked about how the people had come from Gilgal and they deceived the Israelites and got them to make a covenant which spared their lives, although God still worked it for his good because he made it to where now the Israelites had people to do the manual labor for them. Yeah. So, pick up in verse 10, or chapter 10. And the title of my Bible says, "The Sun Stands Still." And tonight I also have my study Bible as well as my notes Bible. Alright, let's start reading. It says, as soon as the Adoni-Zedek, king of Jerusalem, heard how Joshua had captured Ai and devoted it to destruction, doing to Ai and its king as it had done to Jericho and its king, and how the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel and were among them, he feared greatly, because Gibeon was a great city, like one of the royal cities, and because it was greater than Ai, and all its men were warriors. So Adoni-Zedek, king of Jerusalem, sent to Hoam, king of Hebron, and Piram, king of Jarmuth, and Shaphiah, king of Lachish, and to Dibir, king of Eglon, saying, "Come up to me and help me, and let us strike Gibeon, for it has made peace with Joshua and with the people of Israel." Then the 5 kings of the Amorites, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, the king of Eglon, gathered their forces and went up with all their armies and encamped against Gibeon and made war against it. This is kind of interesting, because the first city that decided to try and deceive them was apparently a city full of warriors, which is why the king was so mad, because you just stole all of our warriors. So now we don't really have as much military strength as we would have had with them. So yeah. I will throw an underline under that. And because it was greater than Ai, and all its men were warriors. It's an interesting little tidbit there. I mean, I'd be pretty mad too if all my warriors got chickened out and decided that they wanted to be, woodcutters and day laborers for these people. Shows that even cities full of warriors can still be cowards. I think another reason why the kings of the 5 Amorite kings wound up launching this attack was in part because of God. This was God's way of getting back to destroying, because his people could no longer destroy it because they had made the covenant with them, and God values his covenants more than he values, anything else. Because without your word, what are you? A hypocrite. So those people keep their word. And now let's go to verse 6. It says, "And the men of Gibeon sent to Joshua at the camp in Gilgal, saying," it's not Gilgal, it's Gibeon. Gibeon. Not Gilgal. Gilgal was where the Israelites were camping. Gibeon is the city where all the warriors were. "And the men of Gibeon sent to Joshua at the camp of Gilgal, saying, Do not relax your hand from your servants. Come up to us quickly and save us and help us, for all the kings of the Amorites who dwell in the hill country are gathered against us." So Joshua went up from Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the mighty men of valor. And the Lord said to Joshua, "Do not fear them, for I have given them into your hands. Not a man of them shall stand before you." So Joshua came upon them suddenly, having marched up all night from Gilgal. And the Lord threw them into a panic before Israel, who struck them with a great blow at Gibeon, and chased them by the way of the ascent of Beth-horon, and struck them as far as Azekah and Makkedah. And as they fled before Israel, while they were going down the ascent of Beth-horon, the Lord threw down large stones from heaven on them as far as Azekah, and they died. And there were more who died because of the hailstones that the sons of Israel killed with the sword. If that's not God saying, I'm winning, then I don't know what is. He killed more people by throwing rocks at them from heaven than he did, or than his people did, killing them with the sword. If that's not God saying, you can't do anything without me, I don't know what is. I will underline that. There were more who died because of the hailstones than the sons of Israel killed with the sword. That's impressive. That's really impressive. But nothing's impossible with God. I shut that on the ground. Oh well. God proving his power once again. But yeah, I didn't address that in this video, but the reason why I've started reading in Joshua is because of this book that my church's Bible study group has started going through. So I started reading in Joshua, and right now we're in the book. It jumps from session 5, it jumps from Joshua 7 all the way to session 6, and it jumps to Joshua 14. So right now what I'm doing is I'm doing the middle reading and catching up and getting some more backstory behind what is in the book, because I like understanding. I really do. I like understanding what I'm grasping. I mean, in the past I have done just the grabbing what you're given at Sunday. Like, you just grab the little tidbit you get on Sunday, and then you just do nothing else all week. But when you actually sit down and read it, it makes a lot more sense. Alright, let's pick back up in verse 12. It says, "At that time Joshua spoke to the Lord in the day of when the Lord gave the Amorites over to the sons of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand still at Gibeon, and moon in the valley of Ajalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stopped, until the nation took vengeance on their enemies." This is God's time stoppage moment. Or, well, time stoppage. He just stopped the progression of day, which still stopped time, but it didn't stop time like it does in the movies. Because in the movies, whenever time stops, everything and everybody stops. Whereas here, the only thing that stopped was the progression of the sun through the sky and the moon through the sky. It would be nice if they'd stand still, while it's nighttime over here. Get a little extra sleep. But that's okay. I wonder, what time of day this was whenever it, occurred. Was it midday? Was it afternoon? Was it the sun's about to go down and we're not going to be able to see these guys? I don't know. It doesn't tell me. The fact that it says sun stopped over, or stand still at Gibeon, that would make me feel like it's midday. At least, where the battle was at. It'd be midday. Because if that's where the sun stopped, then, and the moon's not a perfect, 180 degrees away. It's just wherever it happens to be in rotation. Anyway, we'll pick back up in second half of verse 13. It says, "Is this not written in the book of Jashar? The sun stopped in the midst of heaven and did not hurry to set for about a whole day." That means for an entire day the sun stood still at Gibeon. So whatever time it was, and the people who were at nighttime, they got a whole day of nighttime. That'd be nice. Anyway, verse 14. "There has been no day like it before or since, when the Lord heeded the voice of a man, for the Lord fought for Israel." So Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, to the camp at Gilgal. That just sounds like they won and they went back home. They whooped you on the way out the door and then they went back home. And they protected their new servants. So, Now we move down to verse 16. It says, these 5 kings fled and hid themselves in the cave at Makkedah. And it was told to Joshua, the 5 kings have been found hidden in the cave at Makkedah. And Joshua said, roll large stones against the mouth of the cave and set the men by it to guard them. But do not stay there yourselves. Pursue your enemies, attack their rear guard, and do not let them enter their cities. For the Lord your God has given them into your hand. Again, we have a little bit more symbolism to Jesus and the prophecies of time to come. Because it talks about rolling the stone. Roll large stones against the mouth of the cave and set men by it to guard them. Sounds a whole lot like the tomb of Jesus. So I'm gonna go ahead and highlight it. Roll large stones against the mouth of the cave and set men by it to guard them. Symbolism to Jesus' crucifixion. At least I think so. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not a pastor. I'm not in school to be a pastor or anything like that. I'm just a guy who reads the Bible. And even that, I'm mediocre at it. I don't know any more than you do. I'm just reading and sharing my thoughts. Go ahead and pick back up in verse 20. When Joshua and the sons of Israel had finished striking them with a great blow until they were wiped out, and when the remnant that remained of them had entered into fortified cities, then all the people returned safe to Joshua in the camp at Makkedah. Not a man moved his tongue against any of the people of Israel. Then Joshua said, open the mouth of the cave and bring out those 5 kings. Or bring those 5 kings out to me from the cave. And they did so, and brought those 5 kings out to him from the cave. The king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, the king of Eglon. And when they brought those kings out to Joshua, Joshua summoned all the men of Israel and said to the chiefs of the men of war who had gone with him, come near, put your feet on the necks of these kings. And when they came near and put their feet on the necks of the kings, and Joshua said to them, do not be afraid or dismayed. Be strong and courageous. For thus the Lord will do to all your enemies against whom you fight. And afterward Joshua struck them and put them to death, and he hanged them on 5 trees. And they hung on the trees until evening, but at the time of going down of the sun, Joshua commanded that they took them down from the trees and threw them into the cave where they had hidden themselves, and they set large stones against the mouth of the cave, which remained there to this very day. Again with the to this very day. They like that term. I don't know if that holds true to, today, as of, July 2026. I have no idea. Is that my problem? Not really. I mean, God knows where it was. God knows if it's still there. I don't know. I just always think it's interesting whenever I see it to this very day. Because, Bible's all true. But at the very least, it means that whenever this book was written, those stones were still there. Or whatever the heck they're talking about. Well, most of the time it's stones. Talked about the stones they pulled out of the Jordan, the stones they piled over the one guy, the stones they piled over the other guy, and now the stones they piled in front of a cave. Those have been the, to this very days of Joshua so far. Pick back up in verse 28. As for Makkedah, Joshua captured it on that day and struck it and its king with the edge of the sword. He devoted to destruction every person in it, and he left none remaining. And he did to the king of Makkedah just as he had done to the king of Jericho. So I guess he threw him in the cave with him. Or at the very least had the leaders come up and put their foot in the neck and then kill him. Whatever. Alright, 29. The header for this one is the conquest of southern Canaan. 29. Then Joshua and all Israel with him passed on from Makkedah to Libnah and fought against Libnah. And the Lord gave it also and its king into the hand of Israel. And he struck it with the edge of the sword, and every person in it, he left none remaining in it. And he did to its king as he had done to the king of Jericho. Then Joshua and all Israel with him passed from Libnah to Lachish and laid... One moment, please. Siege to it and fought against it. And the Lord gave Lachish into the hand of Israel, and he captured it on the second day and struck it with the edge of the sword and every person in it, as he had done to Libnah. Then Horam, king of Gezer, came up to help Lachish, and Joshua struck him and his people until he left none remaining. Then Joshua and all of Israel with him passed from Lachish on to Eglon, and they laid siege to it and fought against it, and they captured it on that day, and struck it with the edge of the sword, and he devoted every person in it to destruction that day, as he'd done to Lachish. So basically they're just in very rapid succession, bouncing from city to city to city, and just plowing through everything that at the very least, the cities of those 5 kings that they had already executed. And they even made a quick pit stop over at Makkedah, because they were already in Makkedah anyway. Alright, and we'll pick back up in 36. It says, Then Joshua and all of Israel with him went from Eglon to Hebron, and they fought against it, and they captured it, and struck it with the edge of the sword, and its king and its towns, every person in it. He left none remaining, as he'd done to Eglon, and devoted it to destruction and every person in it. And then Joshua and all Israel with him turned back to Debir, and fought against it, and he captured it and its king and all its towns. And they struck them with the edge of the sword, and devoted it to destruction, every person in it. He left none remaining, just as he'd done to Hebron, and to Libnah and its king. So he did to Debir and its king. So Joshua struck the whole land, and the hill country, and the Negeb, and the lowland, and the slopes, and their kings. He left all that breathed. He left none remaining, but devoted to destruction all that breathed, just as the Lord God of Israel commanded. And Joshua struck them from Kadesh Barnea as far as Gaza, and all the country of Goshen as far as Gibeon. And Joshua captured all the kings and their land at one time, because the Lord God of Israel fought for Israel. Then Joshua returned, and all of Israel with him, to the camp at Gilgal. So they basically just went on a conquest and just kind of said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they just mowed down everybody. Devoted all of them to destruction, knocked out all their kings, knocked out all their towns, captured everything and everything, probably as the Lord commanded this time, because they'd already learned their lesson the last 2 times that they went and did stuff that the Lord did not tell them to do. So this time they listened, and they continuously captured city after city after city. Yeah. That's all the reading I'm going to do for tonight. If you have any prayer requests, leave them in the comments. Again, I'm just a guy. But that will be all for tonight. I will see y'all tomorrow.